Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 5:30.
Testimony in a Pulaski County courtroom leads an attorney to ask for a murder case to be dropped to a manslaughter one. We'll have reaction from the victim's family.
I'm glad we came along when we did. It was a great end to a wonderful day.
It was an unusual rescue. Coming up, more on some shocking moments for two Kentucky women who helped with the rescue while kayaking in Scott County.
You may have received emails pumping up penny stocks. What you need to know so you don't lose a lot of money. WKYT News at 5:30 starts now.
Good evening to you. Her family says she was beaten so badly she was unrecognizable. That is what a Southern Kentucky family tells us about their daughter, who police say was killed by her boyfriend last week.
This afternoon, Johnny Ray Hendricks, the boyfriend, was in court for a preliminary hearing. Police say that he beat Monica Wells to death and dumped her body in a sinkhole. Hendricks is charged with murder, assault, theft, and robbery. WKYT's Phil Pendleton is tracking this investigation, and he has more now from the courtroom. It's our top story at 5:30.
A late-night argument woke up an 8-year-old sleeping in his Pulaski County home. He looked up to see his mother, Monica Wells. Detective Bobby Jones testified that the child then told them that he saw his mother's boyfriend, Johnny Hendricks, beat her. Blood was found all over the living room.
Had been up to the funeral home and seen her. It had no recognition of Monica.
Early Tuesday morning last week was the last time the boy saw his mother alive. The next day, police say she was found on a ledge in a sinkhole. Police say they think Hendricks tried to hide the woman that he had just killed.
He thought she'd go in that water and they'd never find her. That's why he took her driver's license, her medical card, her social security card.
Obviously, Monica Wells and Johnny Hendricks had had a very heated argument. We learned today what that may have been from. Police testified that apparently Monica Wells was found with another man.
It still didn't give him the right to kill her. You can always walk away.
Hendricks' attorney said that may have caused him to act under extreme emotional disturbance and asked the judge to lessen the charge to manslaughter.
And I know maybe Monica did things she shouldn't have done, but they shouldn't try to turn that around and get him off from what he done.
But the judge kept the murder charge and forwarded the case on to a grand jury. In Pulaski County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Police also testified that Wells was found with gunshot wounds to the leg, but that she died of massive blunt force trauma.
3 police agencies in southeastern Kentucky spent the morning searching for more than 24 people wanted on drug charges. Our county-by-county coverage begins in Bell County. Police say they arrested 18 people this morning. We're told the majority of those arrests came from the Pineville area. Police say those people were arrested for selling prescription medications like hydrocodone, oxycodone, Suboxone. Police also say today's roundup would not have happened without a little help from the community.
It's going to take more than just law enforcement. A lot of these cases that we work come from anonymous tips that we've received through Post and other law enforcement agencies throughout the Post 10 area.
Kentucky State Police Post 10, Pineville Police, and the Cumberland River Drug Task Force teamed up for today's roundup. In Rockcastle County, fire crews had a big mess to clean up this morning after a home was damaged in an overnight fire. The fire broke out about 1:30 this morning on Big Cave Road in the Rockcastle County community of Orlando. Dispatchers say crews were on the scene for more than an hour trying to put out the flames. No one was hurt and no one was home when that fire started.
Another cool, crisp fall day out there here in Kentucky, and we're looking at the possibility of maybe some frost overnight. Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey is tracking that frost threat. Chris, how's it looking for tomorrow morning? A little cool?
Yeah, a little on the chilly side, Sam, and I do think the pumpkins out there, at least some of them in the parts of central Kentucky, will have a kiss of frost on them. That is the area we are highlighting for the frost advisory overnight. Counties that are shaded in the blue. Now, southeastern Kentucky, you have a frost advisory into Tennessee to your south, to your southeast into Virginia. Not so much into eastern Kentucky as of yet. Still some clouds out there that are just hanging tough across the eastern half of the state. And the cloud line, or the clearing line, I should say, isn't budging very much at all, so it's going to be like pulling teeth to get that clear sky into parts of eastern Kentucky. We look at some of our sky cams from across the region here on Defender. Farther west that we go into Frankfort, picking up on a little bit of late afternoon sunshine. Look at Georgetown, Lexington, and Richmond. We continue to see the cloudy conditions out there. This is the view in our live sky cam here behind the station on Winchester Road. And yeah, we're socked into the low overcast conditions. Something else I'm going to watch closely later tonight, early tomorrow morning. Some of the models in our fog forecast, guys, are trying to crank up some locally dense fog first thing tomorrow morning. Now, if that is the case, that may be slow to burn away as we go into the early afternoon tomorrow, which would in turn keep those temperatures a little colder. So I'm tracking the overnight frost threat, milder changes for the weekend, but a few cold fronts into your 7-day forecast minutes from now.
Thank you, Chris. It started out as a kayaking adventure down Scott County's Elkhorn Creek, but it ended in an animal rescue.
WKYT's Jordan Valines has more from two women who got a little more than they bargained for on their trip. It's a story that's new at 5:30.
Okay.
Ellen Darris Placer, Debbie Putman, and her dog Cassie are gearing up for another trip down Scott County's Elkhorn Creek. They're on an adventure known as geocaching, which is basically an electronic scavenger hunt. Sometimes what you're looking for is hidden in plain sight on the banks of a creek. And sometimes when you're not looking for something, that's when you find it.
We got 24 caches, and on our way back, we heard a cow mooing. Moo, moo, moo. And we looked over to the side, and there was it looked like a wet gray wolf.
When the two women paddled up for a closer look,
And it was a calf. And so we had to stop and went over, and it was getting weak and started to shake from exposure. And so we tied her dog's leash around the calf to keep its nose from going into the water.
Placer and Putman figured the calf had come from this nearby pasture. They believe it got separated from its mother, slipped down the embankment into the water moments after its birth. The women say they couldn't totally help the calf, so they called the Georgetown Fire Department to rescue the newborn.
You know, we're both mothers. We felt for the mother and for the baby, and so we did what we had to do.
And now it's on to the next great adventure for these three. Who knows what they'll find next?
You know, I'm glad we came along when we did. It was a great end to a wonderful day.
In Georgetown, Jordan Valines, WKYT.
I love that dog just riding along with them, too. Well, those two women say this isn't the first time an animal has actually been rescued while they were on the water. They tell us several weeks ago, another group of kayakers saved a calf in the creek.
Penny stock emails have surged in recent months, and regulators are warning investors to be careful. Many efforts to promote penny stocks are nothing more than a scam. Penny stocks. Websites and emails claim you can get big returns with little investment. The truth?
They are considered very risky investments.
As the stock market rose to all-time highs, investors have been buying shares of these small companies at a record pace.
The risk that lies with microcap stocks is that they do not have to report to the SEC, which allows room for fraud and people to come in and pretend that they are more than they are.
Regulators have been tracking this activity and have a warning for consumers. Beware of many of the tactics being used to pump up penny stocks.
You have a promoter behind the scenes who probably stands to benefit financially from this or owns shares of this particular stock.
Those so-called promoters can blast spam out saying this is the deal of the century, or the company's about to make a major announcement. We recommend you buy this as soon as possible.
The promoters and the scammers that have the financial benefit to sell this will sell it, and then the stock will drop. And all the new investors that just bought all this stock will be out all the money that they just invested, and it's actually worth nothing, essentially.
Postal inspectors say investors should be skeptical of email tips. Do your own homework before investing in a penny stock.
You need to be aware. Go on the Securities Exchange website.
Also, if a company is not registered with the SEC, postal inspectors recommend calling the office in your state that regulates financial investments to find out more about the company. I did some checking, and in Kentucky, that state agency is the DFI, or Department of Financial Institutions. They have a new website set up to help consumers. If you still can't find the information, proceed with great caution.